people of color in my primary school. But you see, in order to take the meaning that you're being discriminated against or experiencing prejudice requires that the stories of how that's occurred throughout history, because it is the case, we see in every country far right parties, anti-immigration parties coming out. So the current unpopular is one of colour. Used to be no Irish, no blacks, no dogs. Then we voted out of Europe, so we weren't happy with white migrants. So it's an interesting thing because I used to ride motorcycles. We'll talk about my accident that I had maybe. But I used to ride this bike called a Honda Fireblade. It was the fastest production bike at the time. It was coloured like a tiger. I was wearing an illegal crash helmet with an illegal visor and an illegal exhaust pipe, pulling power wheelies, pulled over by the police. Now, at that point, they don't know what colour I am. So I got off the bike, immediately take off my helmet, take off my gloves, and go over to them and look them in the eye and say, "Oh, I'm really sorry. It's I've just changed the chain and it's really talky, and I don't know." Now I got away with not murder, but at least 9 chargeable offences more than once. I mean, this is something, until I had my accident, I used to ride around like a maniac. And every single time that I encountered the police, they were absolutely lovely, charming, funny. Yeah. And how can that be? Because if you're one of only 2 people, so I think the joke is a black currant in a rice pudding. If you're one of only 2 black people, and prejudice and racism, beg your pardon, is objectively true, which it is for everybody else. But for me, I've wandered through this world with white privilege, because if people are odd with me, I go, "Oh, you're being odd." I don't go, "Oh, you're being racist or you're discriminating." I just go, "Yeah, right, mate, whatever."
And is
And I
that
don't go,
is that because you grew up in a white family? Do you think?
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
because all of my extended family are whites. There was a level of education. There's a level of not poverty that you get in more ghettoized areas like Tottenham. The irony: my birth mother lived less than 5 miles away for 30 years. Um, yeah, you look out of a head where no story of their history is about them being discriminated against. So
Okay.
you could create it, I suppose, if you're really into it, but you wouldn't, I don't think. I didn't.
Yeah. Have you met your birth parents? Have you?
I did met my birth mother. It was I'm the product of an extramarital affair, so there was no father in the picture.
Right. Okay.
Mm.
And are you in relationship with her now? Or how was that for you?
It was good. Yeah, I met her in 2018. She gave me a couple of dog tags that I wear with my African name. So I'm half Nigerian, half Spanish, and I'm called Igusa, which means in God's time. And unfortunately, she died a couple of weeks ago, having
Mm.
been in a vegetative state for 2 years. So, and oh no, you don't know this yet. So I've had a bunch of strokes as well. She had a bunch of strokes. My half sister had a bunch of strokes.
Oh.
So
Is
yeah,
that a hereditary thing? Yeah, interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
clearly.
You talk about dyslexia
Mm.
on your social media profiles. How did that affect you at school? So I'm picking up, you see, that although you were a mixed race child in a white British family, you were at school, you were very much in the minority, but I'm not picking up that you saw yourself as a victim of racism at that time. You didn't really experience that. You have white privilege, although your skin is not white. I get that. Was dyslexia a problem for you at school? Did that make challenges, or was it were you well supported? Did you even know you had dyslexia?
No, because in the 70s it wasn't a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was a report card. Excuse me. There was a report card that said can't spell or punctuate for toffee.
Yeah.
One saying loads of great ideas, but can't get them down into a narrative. My dad used to say, you've got verbal diarrhea. So I exist in the world, and it's only because. So I found out about my dyslexia much later on by accident, but the qualities that dyslexic minds have manifest in a tremendous energy, because what we have going on inside our heads is often 20, 30, 50 times what more neurotypical brains have. So I've gone through life and people have said to me, oh, Jonathan, this is my problem. And I've gone, well, I see what you're showing me, but, thinking that they could see them too.
Yeah.
And only now understanding that it is a massive imagination creating different versions of the senses as they're received to create different perceptions. And that's how dyslexics solve problems, because there's no problem.
I mean, I like to think we've come a long way in understanding neurodiversity, and not about making exceptions in a way, but how to get the best out of people, how to create the best conditions so people can thrive, whether they're neurodiverse or not. So how can the education system best support people with dyslexia, would you say, from your own experiences?
From my own experience,